Hello everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel, DuvalMafia here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the James Robinson situation that is currently going on, and I'm also going to do a quick touch on what my opinions are about the coordinators and a couple more of my opinions. So starting off with the James Robinson situation, when asked about with Jags Report Live, James Robinson said this about being benched. He said, "I would say so. It can happen, but I mean, when it happens and you're out for that long, you gotta feel that way." That was his response when he was asked if he felt like he got benched. Now, this to me is a very concerning thing because James Robinson does not seem like a very outspoken player. He doesn't seem like he has that OBJ or Jalen Ramsey type divaness to him. He just simply doesn't have that. And the fact that he's saying this right now means a lot when I completely disagree with what happened, truthfully. Like, he should not have been benched. I know he was battling injuries, and I mean, if they absolutely said that, then it would have been one thing, but he started the game and he was touching the ball almost every play until he fumbled, obviously. And then once he fumbles, he pretty much gets benched for Carlos Hyde, who Carlos Hyde is okay, but he's nothing special. He should not be starting or playing snaps over James Robinson. And James Robinson, further into the interview, even said at one point he was expected to go back into the game to give Carlos Hyde a breather and split snaps, and he got told to stay on the sideline, and Carlos Hyde stayed in there while needing a breather. That just makes no sense in my head. Like, why would you even do that? Now, if you're benching the dude, I understand it, but even when the guy you're subbing in for him needs a breather, you're still going to use the guy that you benched. Like, you don't just leave him on the bench for the entire half. Of course, James Robinson came back later in the game to play a couple more snaps. Like, I do understand it was going to be like a split for most of the game because of the injuries, but Urban has to go about that in a way better way. He can't make it seem like James Robinson is getting benched, because that just makes a bad look for James, it makes a bad look for Urban, and it makes a bad look for the Jaguars in general. And I completely understand where people are coming from, because the ETN pick was basically going to make James Robinson a committee back. Everybody knew that was coming. I mean, let's be honest. Like, it was probably going to be like a 60-40 split between James Robinson and Travis Etienne, sorry. But, I mean, that's how it was going to be. And honestly, I'm okay with that because workhorse backs, it's proven if you watch around the league, they just break down. It's just how it is. It's not like the old days where they'd play with broken hands and broken fingers and all broken toes and all this stuff. It ain't like that anymore. They don't do that stuff anymore. So you need people like depth to keep these guys from getting hurt. I mean, last year was a perfect example. James Robinson played, it was a high 80% of our running back snaps. And I mean, he was barely walking by the end of the year. And with this year having an extra game, the ETN pick was made so Robinson would last the whole season and be 100% healthy. And now here we are because ETN got a freak injury, and Carlos Hyde is now taking more snaps, which I don't understand. Like, this is not how it should be. If it was ETN and ETN got a couple more snaps than James Robinson, okay. Because that's your first round pick. That's your dynamic speed guy. I understand that completely. And James Robinson's hurt. But Carlos Hyde is not that. That is not what Carlos Hyde is here for. Carlos Hyde was here originally for depth, honestly. Like, there was no reason for him to be on this team before Travis Etienne got hurt. And the fact that he's out snapping James Robinson, even though James is hurt, I completely understand that. But he was healthy enough to not be a scratch from the game, and he was healthy enough to start. Why in the world is Carlos Hyde out snapping him? I don't really care about the game script. I don't care about what happens. There's no way that you can convince me that Carlos Hyde is more talented than James Robinson. Now, I understand what Urban Meyer was trying to do, because a lot of other coaches around the league, specifically one that comes to mind is Bill Belichick, is when you have a fumble or you have a bonehead play, he does let you take a breather. He lets you sit a drive out, sit two drives out, and he's done it before. And I don't have a problem with that. But just tell that to the guy, because James's response that he gave to this reporter shows that James had no idea what was going through Urban's mind, and he's honestly being shut out, which is not what you can do as a coach. You cannot shut the players out. You're going to lose the locker room so quickly when you do that. And that's my biggest fear with Urban. I don't mind Urban as a coach. I think he does an okay job. But as of right now, I don't feel he has a locker room behind him, and I think that's his biggest downfall. I truly don't feel like this locker room respects Urban enough. Like, this isn't college. Like, he can't be getting away with the shit that he's pulling. It's very concerning for me going forward. Like, I am one of those people who wants to give Urban that extra year. But at this point, it's like, oh my god, he can't keep doing this because he's just making himself look worse or worse. I don't know if the dude's even trying to get fired at this point. Like, it's insane. Like, there's just no way you can convince me that he's actually believing that fucking Carlos Hyde is better than James Robinson. That's just insane to me. Like, you cannot convince me of that. And to move forward off of this topic and onto the coordinators, another guy is our offensive coordinator, Bevel. This dude just needs to leave already. Like, honestly, the play calling that he comes up with is so mediocre at best. Like, I don't know how this guy even has a job at this point in the season. This offense looks sorry. Now, I understand we're missing a lot of firepower in offense. We're missing a lot of explosive playmakers. I get it completely. He's not working with the most. I mean, he's got Jaden Mickens, Tavon Austin, Laquan Treadwell, Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault. Like, these are all okay guys, but there's no special playmaker on that list. And with your only true playmaker being James Robinson, he's being banged up. You're put in a tough situation as a coordinator, and I get that completely. But the problem that I'm having with Darrell Bevell right now is he needs to have a better game script as a whole. His entire plan is like run, pass, run, run, pass, run, or run, run, pass, pass, run. It's so predictable in a way. Like, these defenses are showing up with the perfect coverages, I feel like 80% of the time for whatever we're throwing at them. And these receivers are not getting open either. So obviously he needs to draw up, I don't know if it's natural pick plays that we need more of those. We need more screen plays that get the ball into playmakers' hands in open field. Like, I don't know what this team needs, but they need some type of spark. And I need Darrell Bevell to understand this and be the offensive coordinator that he is and basically design plays to give them that spark. Like, you look at some of these best offenses in the league, and where do most of their big plays from? They come from the offensive coordinator's play style and their design, the way they design their plays. I mean, a perfect example of play design was on Monday Night Football between the Bills and the Patriots. I know the weather was but the Patriots passed the ball 3 times. 3 times in the entire game. That right there proves to you that it is not hard to play good offensive football. I mean, come on, dude. Like, if a team can win a game when running the ball 3 times, let's be honest. There's absolutely no way that these offensive coordinators should struggle to come up with good stuff. I'm sorry, but it's ridiculous. I mean, the Patriots used that N'Keal Harry pick block with Isaiah Wynn rolling out to the left and blocking the guy on the outside. I think they used it probably 15 times that game, and it was literally unstoppable from the Bills' side of the view. The Bills couldn't stop it. I mean, they'd either go inside or they'd go outside, and they would be a hole every single time. And the Bills are one of the best defenses in the league. Like, if it's that simple. All you need to do is draw up plays that fit your player base. Like, I don't understand it. I mean, if I'm Darrell Bevell, I'm drawing up plays to get Laviska Shenault looks in the backfield so he has a linebacker on him. Give him a little halfback screen. Give him a little bit of a wheel route. Get him a mismatch. Because Laviska Shenault's probably our best playmaker at this point. It's the truth. I mean, Marvin Jones is probably our best pure wide receiver, but he's been relatively inconsistent in recent weeks. And from a playmaker standpoint, outside of James Robinson, we don't really have much. So that right there, I do feel for Darrell Bevell in that situation, but he needs to get it together, dude. Like, it's just so bad. Watching this offense, it makes me not even want to watch it. Like, I'd rather just watch our defense. And that's not a good thing because our defense is playing very okay, but it's not like the 2017 team that was actually fun to watch on defense. Like, it says a lot that I'd rather watch this defense than the offense. Especially with Trevor Lawrence on our offense. We should be excited for this offense. Now, I know Trevor's not playing that great, and Bevell has to understand that. Trevor is a rookie, and he has some limitations between reading the field and stuff like that. He's still very young. I understand that. But, I mean, Trevor has talent that you can't deny. To some point, you just have to let him use it. Whether it's quarterback runs, whether it's just quarterback RPOs, like, Just, we need something that gives a spark, Bevel. Like, please, Bevel, I'm begging you. Just give us something that gives us a freaking spark on this offense. Come up with some play design that fits our mold and just run away with it. I mean, the Patriots just proved you can play it like fucking Madden out there and just spam the same play and then switch it up every once in a while. It's all you have to do. I mean, you're telling me that Damian Harris or Ramondre Stevenson are better than James Robinson? And you're telling me Isaiah Wynn is that much better than Cam Robinson or Andrew Norwell? No, absolutely not. It's all about the scheme. It's all about what you draw up. If you draw up plays that lead your players to succeed, they're going to succeed. Do not overcomplicate it for them. It's so simple. And to move on to Cullen, I actually like what Cullen's doing, and I hope we keep him. I actually do hope we keep him. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. Because I actually like what Cullen's doing with this defense. Now, this defense has been very odd this year, and it started out very badly. But the more you watch it week by week, you can just tell that these guys are starting to understand what Cullen's trying to do with them. I mean, our front seven is actually playing extremely well outside of probably our linebackers, our inside linebackers, I should say. Our outside linebackers in Chason and Allen, I actually don't mind what they're doing this year. And I know Chason's not getting enough playing time that some would like to see, but I actually don't mind that he's being still eased into this. I mean, people have to remember, we drafted Chason at 20 years old. He was the youngest player in the draft. People need to, or I think he was the second youngest, actually. But people need to understand it. Chason's, I think, just now, like, turning 22, or recently turned 22. Like, this dude's still a kid. He's nowhere near his ceiling. Now, do I agree with where we drafted him and all that? No, but it's set in stone now. I mean, there's no going back. He's a part of the old resume, but we might as well try to make him work. And Cullen's realizing that, and he's trying to give Chason enough time to grow, but not so much time that he gets exposed by these defenses. But I actually like what I'm seeing from our defense. I mean, our corners are improving. Campbell's improving week by week, it feels like. Shaquille's been doing his thing this season, even though he's been hurt. He's been out with his concussion. I mean, our safeties have been a little underwhelming, but Wingard in basically a spot starter role, I mean, he's been okay. Jenkins has been, I don't know how I feel about Jenkins, truthfully. I mean, he's getting too many penalties. That's the main thing with him. It's not that he's playing terrible. It's just in key situations he's getting penalties that just can't happen. It's simple as that. I mean, you have to use some discipline. And then our linebackers is the one position I'm not liking on the defense this year, honestly. Between Damian Wilson and Miles Jack, it's not good. Damian Wilson was the person who gave up the most pass yards this past week in coverage. Our linebacker, that's not a good thing. That means we're being exposed in the middle of the field, like, a lot. That means our corners, which, by the way, we had backup corners in, so they were targeting them as well. But Damian Wilson gave up 120-something yards, I believe it was. It was some absurd number for a linebacker. Like, there's no linebacker that should be giving up that much. It's just, that's not good scheming on Cullen's part, but it's also Damian Wilson just not being in his spots. Simple as that. Like, there's only so much that Cullen can do in those scenarios. He can tell a dude to do whatever, but if the dude doesn't do it, then you're shit out of luck. It's the truth. But overall, this video is mainly about concerns that I'm having, and I mean, the James Robinson situation, on a scale of 1 to 10 for concern level, it's probably like a 6 to 7. I'm not like over here crying or screaming. Like, I'm not that mad about it, but like, you can't be having this disconnection between probably our best offensive player and our head coach. That's not a good thing. That is something that needs to be fixed, whether behind closed doors or between James Robinson and Urban one-on-one, whatever. It just needs to be settled and it needs to be squashed. There's just no way you can be going through that right now. And if Urban has plans to let James Robinson walk in 2 years or whatever it is, then battle that when we get there. But don't be benching the dude now, trying to lower his confidence and lower his value and all that. That's a stupid thing. Just so stupid, especially not for Carlos Hyde. Now, if Travis Etienne was healthy and Travis Etienne was going crazy and having a crazy rookie year, okay, you know what? If he splits like 50-50 with James Robinson, okay, I can understand that. But There's no way that you actually think Carlos Hyde is anywhere near James Robinson's level right now. There's no way. Maybe San Francisco Carlos Hyde when he was actually, like, good. But, I mean, that's been, 6 years ago now? 5 years ago? Like, there's just no way that you can actually sit here. I mean, I think Carlos Hyde is averaging something like 3 yards a carry for us this year. That's not good. Like, why do people think that's good? I don't understand. The only time I remember Carlos Hyde being anything more than, like, decent was probably with San Francisco those first couple years when he was young. I mean, that I remember him having that role and that impact on their team back then. But again, it's just he's never been a star running back, and there's no way that you can ever bench James Robinson for him. I'm sorry. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care if James just fumbled 2 times in a row. You cannot bench. I sound like a broken record saying it, but I don't understand it. That's one of the biggest things that I've seen from Urban Meyer this year that I didn't like. Like, I'm looking at James Robinson's snap counts right now, and I mean, he started out the year at 63%, which is, it's eh. He should have played a little more. Then he went up to 73. Then he went down to 59. Then he went up to 95% against Cincinnati. Then he was at 68% against Tennessee, 85%, 11% when he got hurt, so I'm not going to count that. 59%, 63%, 52%, and then this past week, 44%. I like James in that 73% to like 68%, maybe even the 80s. I like him in that range. I don't like him at 95% because I think that's a little bit too much. I think that's overworking him a little bit, but I also don't like him in the 40s with 44%. I mean, that's not where he should be. And I know James has been having a little bit of fumble problems this year. I mean, even though he has 2 fumbles lost in back-to-back weeks, he has fumbled 4 times this year so far, which is a little bit of a concern to me, I'm not going to lie. Because in his rookie year, I mean, I don't think he fumbled at all. Did he lose any fumbles in his rookie year? I don't think he did. He might have lost 1. But my point being, like, last year I don't remember him losing a fumble. But it's disgusting. And I hope that Urban and James can get it together and fix this because it's not something I want. And honestly, about the coordinators, give Colin 1 more year, but get Bevel the fuck out. I'm done with Bevel. He's had his 12 weeks, and I know he's had a lot of injuries to our offense. I know it's not the personnel on offense he thought he was going to have, but his job is to literally scheme around what he has, and he's just not doing it. Simple as that. But with that, I'm going to wrap up this video. So thank you for listening if you have. And if you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like. And if you are new, make sure to subscribe. And as always, peace out, Duval.